There is a man in Sydney, Australia, who most of you have never heard of. His name is George Nguyen. He does not rap, he does not sing, he has never stepped foot on a stage or appeared on a Billboard chart. But according to a federal lawsuit sitting inside a United States courthouse right now, this one man may have single-handedly manufactured the career of the biggest rapper of the streaming era. And what terrifies me is not that he allegedly did it. What terrifies me is how close they came to nobody ever finding out. If one lawsuit had not been filed in a Virginia courthouse on the last day of 2025, this entire operation might still be running right now, silently, invisibly, right under your nose. I need you to forget everything you think you know about Drake. Every record, every number one, every time somebody told you he was the most streamed artist on the planet. Forget all of it. Wipe it all clean. Because what I'm about to reveal to you is not gossip from a blog. This is not a YouTuber's theory or a rumor someone started for engagement. This is a 22-page federal RICO complaint filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, invoking the same criminal statute they used to dismantle the Gambino crime family, and the name printed on that complaint in black ink, Aubrey Drake Graham. I sat with this information for days before I decided to speak on it. I read the filing 3 times. I cross-referenced it with 2 other lawsuits filed in separate states. I consulted the analysis from a Harvard Law School lecturer who served as a federal prosecutor, and the conclusion I arrived at was the same every single time. If even half of what is alleged in these documents is true, then the biggest success story in modern music history was a lie. A very expensive, very sophisticated, very carefully constructed lie. So here is what we are going to do. I am going to walk you through a machine so sophisticated, so carefully designed that it operated in plain sight for years while the entire music industry applauded its output. I'm going to show you how millions of real dollars allegedly flowed from a gambling website through a tipping system designed to look innocent across international borders into the hands of bot vendors who injected hundreds of millions of fake streams directly into Spotify's recommendation engine. And by the time I am done, you are going to understand why 3 separate lawsuits in 3 different states are now closing in on Drake simultaneously, why Harvard law professors are calling this one of the most significant legal cases in entertainment history, and why the man who once accused Kendrick Lamar of cheating the system may have just been describing his own playbook the entire time. But I am not starting where you think. I am not starting with Drake or the lawsuit. I am starting with something far more unsettling. The algorithm itself. Because if you do not understand how the algorithm works, you will never grasp the full horror of what was allegedly done to it. Every single day, Spotify's recommendation engine processes billions of data points. It monitors what you listen to, when you skip, how long you stay on a track, what you save, what you ignore. It uses all of that to build a model of your taste and then serves you music it believes you will enjoy. Discover Weekly, Release Radar, Daily Mixes, the playlists that introduce you to artists you have never searched for. This system is the backbone of modern music discovery. It is the gatekeeper. It decides who you hear and who dies in silence. For millions of listeners who never actively search for new music, the algorithm is the only bridge between an artist's work and their ears. It is arguably the most powerful gatekeeping force in the entire music industry, and most people have no idea it even exists, let alone that it can be manipulated. Now, imagine someone figured out how to hijack that bridge. Imagine someone discovered that if you flood a song with enough fake streams, the algorithm cannot tell the difference between manufactured popularity and genuine demand. It sees the numbers spike and reacts exactly as designed. It places that song on organic playlists. It recommends it to real users. Real people start streaming it because the system told them it was popular. And suddenly, the fake popularity becomes real, a self-sustaining feedback loop of fraud. The algorithm becomes an unwitting accomplice, amplifying a lie until it looks indistinguishable from truth. That is not hypothetical. That is exactly what this federal lawsuit alleges was happening to your ears for years. And the person allegedly sitting at the top of this operation, funding it, directing it, profiting from every fraudulent stream, the same artist whose entire legacy was built on one argument above all others: the numbers do not lie. Except, now a federal court is asking a very uncomfortable question. What if they did?
Let me take you inside the machine, all the way inside. Drake had a deal with an online gambling platform called Stake. This was publicly known. The deal was reportedly worth approximately $100 million annually. Let that settle. $100 million annually. Drake would go live on the platform, play high-stakes games, react to massive wins, and serve as the global face of Stake to millions of viewers. Fans watched their favorite artist apparently risking real money and winning big. It looked thrilling. It looked authentic. It looked like the lifestyle made real. And millions of fans, especially young ones with disposable income and dreams of replicating what they saw on screen, were hooked. But according to the federal complaint, every single moment of that spectacle was theater. The lawsuit alleges Drake was playing with secret house credits. The wins were not real wins. The risk was not real risk. His money was never on the line. Every shocked reaction, every celebration, every time a fan at home watched Drake hit on a roulette number and thought their idol was gambling just like them, it was allegedly scripted performance. While fans deposited their own real dollars into Stake, inspired by what they believed was authentic, Drake was allegedly collecting a guaranteed 9-figure paycheck regardless of outcome.
And the complaint documents specific moments that should make your skin crawl. Stake-branded clips of Drake hitting roulette numbers with statistical improbability. 0, 10, 23, 11, 11 again, and 11 yet again, in sequence, on camera. The kind of streak that makes a mathematician laugh, a statistician raise an eyebrow, and a federal prosecutor quietly reach for a subpoena. Those clips are still on the internet. You can watch them right now, and once you know what is alleged in this lawsuit, they will never look the same to you again. But the gambling deception was not the endgame. It was the funding mechanism, step one of a much larger and far more sinister operation. Stake had a feature nobody outside this alleged conspiracy was watching closely, a tipping feature. On the surface, it appeared to be a casual social function. One user tips another some virtual currency as a friendly gesture, seemingly innocent. The lawsuit calls it something very different, an unregulated money transmitter operating outside the oversight of any financial regulator on Earth. Here is how the pipeline allegedly worked. Massive sums of real money were funneled from Drake's Stake accounts through tips to Adin Ross. Yes, that Adin Ross, now a co-defendant in this federal case. The complaint documents at least one specific tip of $100,000 from Drake to Ross on the platform. Those funds then allegedly traveled across the Pacific Ocean to George Nguyen in Australia. And what did Nguyen allegedly do with that money? He bought bots, hundreds of millions of fake streams, calibrated, targeted, and injected directly into Drake's Spotify catalog with surgical precision. This was not some amateur operation. According to the lawsuit, Nguyen served as a facilitator and operational broker. He allegedly converted stake-based cryptocurrency to cash, interfaced with bot vendors, supervised coordinated amplification strategies, and integrated paid clipping campaigns to further promote both Drake and the gambling platform. A professional supply chain of fraud stretching from North America to the South Pacific. And the streams were not randomly distributed noise. The lawsuit uses language that should alarm anyone who cares about music. It alleges these bot campaigns were specifically calibrated to mislead the recommendation engines governing the entire ecosystem, designed to trigger Spotify's algorithm into treating Drake's music as organically viral, to force songs onto playlists where real listeners would encounter them naturally, to create the illusion of demand so convincing that sophisticated detection could not easily distinguish it from genuine popularity. But there is a dimension that makes this darker still. The lawsuit does not just allege the bot campaigns inflated Drake's numbers. It alleges they were simultaneously deployed as weapons against his competition, coordinated campaigns to disparage, downvote, and sabotage rival artists every time they released new music, an army of fake accounts manufacturing narratives of failure around anyone threatening Drake's chart position, while real artists poured their souls into their craft, trusting the system to give them a fair shot. There was allegedly a digital hit squad in the shadows, ensuring the game stayed permanently rigged. How many careers were quietly strangled? How many songs that should have been anthems died in algorithmic obscurity because playlist spots were occupied by artificially inflated tracks?
How many independent artists stared at flatline dashboards, never knowing the system itself was compromised? The full scope of collateral damage may never be quantifiable, and that silence, the silence of careers that were never allowed to happen, might be the most damning evidence of all. Not because it proves anything in court, but because it reveals the human cost of what was allegedly a victimless digital crime. Now let me bring you to the courtroom, because the legal architecture surrounding Drake is not a single problem, it is a siege from multiple directions. The Virginia RICO case is the centerpiece, filed December 31, 2025 by plaintiffs LaShawna Ridley and Tiffany Hines through the Impressa Legal Group. They seek at least $5 million in compensatory and punitive damages across 3 claims: racketeering enterprise, RICO conspiracy, and Virginia Consumer Protection Act violations. On March 24, 2026, the court issued a binding judicial order giving Drake and his co-defendants 21 days to formally respond. Not a suggestion, a binding order from a federal judge. But Virginia is not the only front. A similar class action was filed in Missouri, making nearly identical allegations about Stake and Drake's involvement. In New Mexico, plaintiffs Nathaniel Torres and Rory Michi filed yet another lawsuit, accusing Drake and associates of misleading them into gambling real money through celebrity endorsements without disclosing Stake's true nature. 3 states, 3 separate legal teams, 3 sets of plaintiffs, all converging independently on the same conclusion. And here is what reveals Drake's defense strategy. In New Mexico, his lawyers made a telling move. They filed to have the case tossed out of public court entirely, arguing plaintiffs signed Stake's terms and conditions, which include an arbitration clause directing all disputes to private resolution and banning class action participation. They want this behind closed doors, away from public scrutiny, away from journalists, away from you.
Then there is the November 2025 lawsuit most people forgot, but that serves as the foundation for everything that followed. Veteran West Coast rapper RBX filed a separate class action against Spotify, claiming billions, not millions, billions of Drake streams were fraudulent. That case blamed Spotify for willful blindness. The language was devastating. Every month, under Spotify's watchful eye, billions of fraudulent streams are generated through fake, illegitimate, and illegal methods. The RBX lawsuit established the disease existed. The Virginia RICO case arrived 1 month later and named who was allegedly spreading it. Together, they form what entertainment attorneys are privately calling the most dangerous evidentiary combination any artist has ever faced in the streaming era. One case proves the fraud exists on a massive scale. The other names who allegedly paid for it. That combination is what keeps defense attorneys awake at 3 in the morning. Now, let me take you to the moment where this story transcends law and becomes poetry, because the universe has a sense of irony so precise it feels scriptural. Late 2024, Drake filed a petition against Universal Music Group and Spotify. He accused Kendrick Lamar of using bots to inflate streaming numbers for Not Like Us. He wanted the world to believe the most culturally significant diss track of the decade only succeeded through artificial manipulation. He described, in detail, the mechanics of streaming fraud. He outlined how bots could game the system. He pointed his finger directly at his rival. Dismissed. October 2025. Legally deficient. No chat logs, no wire transfers, no named foreign broker, no financial pipeline. Just a hollow theory and wounded pride. The judge saw right through it. But every single piece of evidence Drake could not produce against Kendrick is now allegedly documented in the RICO case against Drake himself. Communications with Nguyen, financial records tracing money through Stake's tipping system to Australian vendors, data showing billions of suspicious streams flooding Drake's catalog. The receipts sit in a federal courthouse. Drake described the crime to the world. Then evidence arrived suggesting he was allegedly the one committing it. If you wrote this into a screenplay, the studio would send it back for being too obvious. But reality has never cared about subtlety. And karma, as it turns out, keeps immaculate and unforgiving records. And while this unfolded behind legal walls, Kendrick was doing what he always does. In March 2026, the same month Drake received his federal ultimatum, Kendrick swept the iHeartRadio Music Awards. Hip Hop Artist of the Year, Album of the Year for GNX, Song of the Year for Luther. A clean sweep accomplished without a single wire transfer to Australia, without a single bot farm, without a single manipulated algorithm. Just music that resonated because it was real. The contrast is physically painful. One artist on stage collecting trophies earned through cultural impact you can feel in the streets, in the barbershops, in the classrooms, in every corner where music lives. The other assembling defense teams across 3 states to answer racketeering allegations in federal court. Harvard Law School lecturer Duncan Levin, a former federal prosecutor and assistant district attorney, analyzed this case publicly. His assessment should chill every boardroom in entertainment. He explained that RICO lets plaintiffs tell a bigger story. Instead of one fraudulent transaction, they argue the entire system was constructed to generate money illegally. Every transaction, every communication, every business relationship becomes part of the pattern. Levin went further. What we are seeing is not about Drake in isolation. It is about the legal system struggling to keep up with business models operating one step ahead of existing regulations. Courts will look past formal labels of virtual tokens and examine economic reality. The question a judge will ask is simple and devastating.
Are people sending real money, and is the system designed so that real money predictably flows to the platform? He also raised class certification. If certified, this transforms from a case about 2 Virginia plaintiffs into a case about every person who used Stake, every listener whose experience was distorted by manipulated algorithms, every artist whose career was suppressed. The potential class could number in the millions. The potential damages could be staggering. Drake's legal team knows the stakes. Their move in New Mexico to invoke arbitration clauses reveals their strategy. Kill this before discovery opens the vault, because once subpoenas start compelling internal communications and financial records, what surfaces could make current allegations look like a prologue. But the Virginia case is already in federal court. The 22-page complaint is already public record. You cannot arbitrate a RICO claim away when a federal judge has already issued a binding order demanding a response. I will say what intellectual honesty demands. These are allegations. Drake has not been convicted. Due process matters. But the people hiding behind that disclaimer must reckon with a brutal double standard. When Drake weaponized allegations against Kendrick, he showed up with nothing. No documentation, no financial trail, no named intermediaries. Speculation and wounded pride. The judge threw it out instantly. This case has wire transfers, named intermediaries, financial records tracing specific sums through specific platforms to specific vendors in specific countries. A federal judge who found enough substance to compel a formal response. That is not gossip. That is the legal system demanding answers under oath. And regardless of how this resolves, the cultural damage is permanent. This lawsuit has destroyed the one argument Drake's defenders wielded for a decade: the numbers. Every conversation about Drake ended the same way. Check the streams, look at the monthly listeners, count the Billboard records. The numbers do not lie. That was the fortress, the unassailable defense. But what happens when those numbers are under federal investigation? Every chart position, every record, every milestone during the alleged bot operations is permanently tainted, not proven fraudulent, but contaminated beyond restoration. The asterisk follows every number Drake ever posted. For an artist whose identity was constructed on data supremacy, that is not a legal setback. That is an identity crisis with no expiration date. Meanwhile, Kendrick's position grows more untouchable by the day. He never needed algorithms to validate his impact. His influence exists where bots cannot reach and money cannot buy. In how people talk about hip-hop when they are being honest. In how a generation measures itself against his standard. In the streets, the barbershops, the classrooms. Every space where authenticity is the only currency that matters. You cannot purchase that from a vendor in Australia. You cannot manufacture it through an offshore gambling platform. You cannot inject it into a recommendation engine. It exists organically or not at all. While Drake allegedly spent millions simulating connection through technological manipulation, Kendrick earned it, bar by bar, song by song, album by album, moment by cultural moment, without a single fraudulent stream to hold it up. There is a legal concept called the facade of legitimacy. It describes a criminal enterprise constructing outward normalcy to conceal illegal machinery underneath. If these allegations survive scrutiny, Drake's career maps onto that framework with disturbing precision. Chart records as the storefront, listener counts as the window display, milestones as the signage, and allegedly behind all of it, bot farms, offshore wire transfers, and algorithmic hijacking operating in coordinated silence beneath the surface.
The cruelest irony remains that by filing against Kendrick, Drake authored the blueprint for his own exposure. He described streaming fraud mechanics to the world in granular detail. He told everyone what to look for. Then the RICO case arrived, carrying documentation that suggests the person who drew that map was describing his own territory all along. Federal judges do not care about Instagram followers or billboard records. They examine wire transfers, communication logs, financial relationships, and patterns of coordinated activity. Drake now faces a deadline in Virginia, a dismissal battle in New Mexico, and a parallel case in Missouri. 3 courtrooms, 3 ticking clocks, 3 separate chances for the full truth to surface under oath. And every day that passes without a definitive answer only deepens the cloud of suspicion that now hangs over every number Drake's name is attached to. The entire industry is watching. Every artist who ever suspected the game was rigged against them is watching. Every fan who deposited real money into stake because they watched Drake celebrate wins that were allegedly never genuine is watching. Every independent musician who stared at flatline streaming numbers wondering why the algorithm never found their music is watching. Because this is not just about one rapper's legal problems. This is about whether the entire system we trusted to deliver authentic music to our ears was compromised from the inside by the very person it crowned as its king. Kendrick Lamar stands as the undisputed voice of this era, not because a machine decided it, not because a gambling platform bankrolled it, not because an army of bots manufactured his relevance. The culture chose him, authentically, organically, permanently, irrevocably, without a single dollar routed through a tipping system to a bot vendor on the other side of the planet. And Drake is discovering what every empire built on artificial foundations eventually learns. You can buy streams, you can buy chart positions, you can buy a digital kingdom constructed on code and click farms and offshore wire transfers, but you cannot buy legitimacy. You cannot buy cultural truth, and you cannot buy your way out of a federal courtroom when the documentation is on the judge's desk and 3 states are demanding answers simultaneously. The clocks are ticking, the receipts are filed, the machine is exposed, and the story the industry told itself for a decade about who truly dominated hip-hop is being rewritten in permanent ink that no amount of money will erase. Everything Kendrick said was right, and the federal government just handed him the proof. The curtain is down now, the facade is shattered, and the culture is never going back to pretending it did not see what was hiding underneath. Not like us, never was, and now the whole world knows it. The algorithm remembers everything, and so, it seems, does the culture.